I'm Tracie, the Better Coach, and welcome to my YouTube channel, where I help women move from feeling bitter to better after breakups, date better the next time around, and generally protect their peace in spite of all of life's ups and downs. I'm glad you're here, and let's get into it. In this video, I explain how to know when you're ready to date again after a breakup. Let's talk about the idea of being healed before dating or going into any future relationships. I want to be clear that healing is a process as opposed to an event. And so that means it happens in stages and phases along the way, which also means it's likely happening your entire lifetime. So there is no finite idea of healed before going into any future relationship or starting to date. It's more about the impact of your behavior on yourself and other people. This is why there are a number of questions that you can ask yourself in order to help you determine if you are in a place in which your feelings, emotions, mental state, behavior are conducive to engaging with future romantic partners. Let's start with the implications of dating before you're ready. So what this is looking at is the question of why do you want to be ready to date before you start dating? I think there are at least 3 good reasons why you would want to make sure you're in a good place to date. 1, you don't want to sabotage any future or new relationships. 2, you don't want to cause yourself more stress. And 3, you don't want to become jaded or bitter toward the dating process or romantic relationships in general. Now let's talk about how to know when you're ready to date. The key is to know that there is no objective or finite amount of time to classify when someone is ready to date. This takes a subjective assessment of your emotional state, your mental state, and your life circumstances. You are ready to date when your mental state and your emotional state and your life circumstances are in a place where they will not sabotage your dating or relationship efforts. This means that you are functioning in a way in which your emotions are level, your mental state is organized, and your life circumstances around money or childcare or housing or your basic needs are in a place in which you can sustain yourself and therefore even entertain the idea of bringing someone else into your world. There are a number of questions you can ask yourself to help you determine if you are ready. Here are a couple. Are you still emotionally overwhelmed by the thought of your ex? Does the mere mention of their name send you into an emotional tailspin or rant? If you answered yes to either of these questions, you, my friend, may not be ready to date. You don't want to be early on into a dating relationship where you are ranting and venting about your ex in some sort of excessive way. So if you know that you are in a place where you might cry at the drop of a dime when you talk about or think about your ex, then you want to consider this when it comes to the idea of going on dates with people or being early on in the dating process with others. Because what you don't want is for your dates to turn into therapy sessions or rant sessions about your ex or your past relationship. That is a fast track to sabotage of any future relationships. It's reasonable for your date to ask about your past relationships or dating history. So you want to be able to talk about these things in a calm and balanced way. I recommend staying away from describing your ex as toxic, crazy, psycho, bipolar, narcissistic. Insert all sorts of mental health diagnoses or insensitive or offensive language. And this is not to say that your ex may not have an actual mental health diagnosis. It's just that at the beginning of any sort of dating relationship, you want to kind of keep those things to a minimum. That is stuff that you may share with someone as you get closer to them. But generally speaking, you want to talk about what happened or the results of your relationship in a kind of neutral manner. So you can say things like, we argued all the time and didn't get along well, so it was really exhausting. Neither of us were happy, or I wasn't happy, or he or she weren't happy. Any of those sort of things. You keep it pretty neutral. And it's not even that you can't go into more detail of things that happened, because someone may ask that, and if you are comfortable sharing, you may talk about the fact that maybe we didn't have values that aligned. I would bring this up and this person would respond in this way. It's not that you can't be as detailed as you want to be about what happened in your relationship. It's more about not name calling or labeling the person, because it can come off as you being still very emotionally invested in that relationship in an unproductive or unhealthy way for a future relationship, or in a way that may negatively impact any future relationships. So as you are getting to know someone and you guys are maybe becoming more serious, there will be plenty of time to talk about your exes and past histories and relationships and things like that. So none of this is about you not being honest about your experience. It's just about not being so forceful, maybe so aggressive about the negativity at the very beginning, because it can make people wonder, how accurate is this person describing the situation? Are there things, about them, meaning about you, that are having you describe someone a certain way? Are you still, again, very emotionally invested in that past relationship? And is this why you have such strong language to describe them? So for instance, you absolutely could have been in a toxic relationship, but you want to actually describe what that toxic relationship looked like rather than just painting a broad picture. Because someone who's just meeting you really has no way to judge the accuracy of what you are saying when you are just labeling people. So instead, you might say like, yeah, the relationship was not very healthy for me, and this is why. So just being a little more descriptive in your language when it comes to describing your ex or your past relationship can go a long way. Of course, in order to be able to do that, it means that there has to be a certain amount of emotional neutrality and calmness for you regarding that past relationship, which is why you would ask yourself those previous questions that I asked around how sensitive are you at this time around the thought or mention of your ex or your past relationship. If you are fairly neutral about your ex or past relationship, then congratulations, you have passed part 1 of the Are You Ready to Date Again assessment, which isn't really a thing, but I might make it a thing. I do have a dating conversation texting template available for free. So if you sign up for my email list, the link is in the video description, you can get that. And it gives you templates for how to communicate around dating situations, such as introductions with people, cancellations, a follow-up after a date, or letting them know that you're no longer interested. So definitely check that out. Now, on to part 2. Dun dun dun. The baggage level. This is where you ask yourself if you have any serious hangups about your ex or past relationship. I'll wait. I thought so. Do you have trust issues? Are you always assuming the worst about people? Do you really struggle to give people the benefit of the doubt? Do you have significant insecurities about yourself that negatively impact the way you relate to other people, particularly romantic partners? These are just a few questions to ask yourself to help you get down to the nitty-gritty when it comes to any baggage you may be carrying from one relationship to the next. If you answer yes to any of these questions, you may or may not be ready to date. It completely depends on how these things are impacting the way you relate to other people. For instance, if you were cheated on in a past relationship and it has totally wrecked your trust of human beings, and therefore you automatically assume that people are not to be trusted, and you don't give them any benefit of the doubt, and you are paranoid about the things they're doing or not doing, and you then engage with people from this perspective, it's probably not the time for you to start dating, because again, you may end up sabotaging any future relationship. Instead, you would want to take time to work on those issues. Is it through therapy? Is it through some journaling and reflection for yourself? Is it through conversations with your ex that might help bring some clarity? Of course, different people have different options when it comes to these things, but these are just some thoughts on ways to start moving through your own stuff so that you don't let it spill onto others. But I will say there's also something to be said for experience proving something to you. So for instance, if you had a past relationship in which you were betrayed and it really caused some trust issues for you, there's also something to be said for entering new relationships in your life where it is shown to you that people can be trusted. So that can be a tricky balance, because that does take you actually dating people and engaging in relationships to be able to get the proof that, oh, there are people out there who are honest and don't cheat and won't betray me. So by you dating, that can also be a part of your healing process when it comes to things around trust. So just understand that it's finding that balance where you are not paranoid about everybody's every move, so that you can actually start engaging with people. And then as you are engaging with people and you're getting to know people, this is where vetting is very important. You're able to assess who is good for you and who's not. And then in those good relationships, you're able to see the people who are honest and trustworthy, which helps to give you more experience with honest and trustworthy people. And therefore that helps to build the evidence for you that people can be trusted. It's also important to notice your own insecurities about yourself that might impact other people. If you have significant, and I want to be clear, every person has insecurities about different things and they shift throughout their lifetime and all of that. I'm talking about insecurities that are significant enough to you that they really impact the way that you relate to other people. So this can be insecurities about anything, about money, about looks, about career, parenting, you name it. You can have an insecurity about any aspect of your life, but you want to look to see if any of your insecurities are causing you to say things to people or behave towards people in ways that are really not going to be conducive to a healthy relationship. Are you really insecure about parenting things, and therefore if someone makes a comment that is intended to be helpful and that they are there to support you and help you through, you immediately attack them? And when I say someone, I mean like if you were having a romantic partner who you expect to be a part of your family and interact with your children and things like that, and they are, kind and respectful, and they, try to say something that's helpful, are you immediately like on attack mode? That's just one random example of many possible examples of a way in which an insecurity of your own could spill out onto someone else. This of course can show itself in, if you have any insecurities about your intelligence, how you look, your lifestyle habits, you name it. We can find ourselves projecting on people. We can find ourselves not giving people the benefit of the doubt because we assume what our insecurities are doing to their behavior. It can get really messy. So you really want to ask yourself, like, what are my significant insecurities, if I have any, and do I let those spill onto other people? Now, if you've passed part 1 and part 2 of the assessment, you are now into part 3, in which you are assessing your life circumstances. By life circumstances, I mean all of the foundational things about your life: your housing situation, your money, your health and fitness, your parenting and childcare, your career, your social life, insert anything. And you want to assess whether your life circumstances are in a place in which you can freely and happily and enjoyably engage in dating. Do you have enough time for people? Do you have the mental and emotional energy to engage with people? Do you have the physical energy to engage with people? Do you have childcare in place if you have children? Do you have the finances for even just some basic foundational things, transportation to and from dates, having a bit of a wardrobe to go on dates, if there are different self-care or different makeup, hair routines or things that you want to have in place. I want to be clear that none of this needs to be excessive, and there is a past video about date prep, but what you want to assess is, for your comfort level, do you have these various life things in place that will allow you to be able to engage with people without significant disruption? It can be more trying and a little more difficult to date if these things are not in place, because you may find yourself hitting it off with somebody and wanting to go on second and third dates, or maybe it's getting more serious, and you ask yourself, do you have time to spend with this person? Do you have the resources that you need in place in order to be able to engage with them freely? So just taking a assessment of your different life circumstances, especially post breakup, because maybe you had to move, maybe your finances took a hit, all sorts of things can happen due to a breakup. So you just want to check to see if those things are in place for you. And if they're not, you want to look at the things that you need to happen in order to put them in place. There is a past video on my channel about the survival and maintenance phases of breakup recovery. Those are good videos to watch around this idea of getting certain things in place for yourself. So that was the unofficial Are You Ready to Date assessment. There are 3 areas to look at. First, what is your mental and emotional state? Second, are you bringing any baggage from a past relationship into any new relationships? And third, what are your current life circumstances and how do they impact your potential dating life? That's it. See you soon. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to click the link to join my email list. See you soon. Hey, I'm Tracie, the Better Coach, and welcome. Learn how to